Hi, I'm Stefan Sciaraffa. I'd like to welcome you to the fall 2012 edition of Justice, Political Philosophy, and Law, the course. I call it Justice, Political Philosophy, and Law, the course, to distinguish it from Justice, Political Philosophy, and Law, the program. The course is designed to introduce students who have entered into the program to the program. So I think the course you're taking this year, however, is not part of the program yet. The program is pending approval, and it will launch. We think it will launch. We're quite certain it will launch in fall 2013, subject to ministry approval. So what I'd like to do to introduce the course, first, I'd like to introduce myself, say a few things about my credentials to teach this course and to be a part of the Justice, Political Philosophy, and Law program. Then I'd like to say something about the program, because after all, the course, its ultimate purpose is going to be to orient students to the program. And then I want to say a few words about the course, what we'll be covering in the course. So let me start with myself. As I said, I'm Stefan Sciaraffa. I have a Juris Doctorate from the University of Texas. I practiced law for 2 years in Texas at Aiken, Gump, Strauss, Howard & Feld, a large law firm in Dallas, Texas. Also, I have a PhD from the University of Arizona. My areas of specialization are philosophy of law, political philosophy, and moral philosophy. Now, the course, the program in Justice, Political Philosophy, and Law, as I see it, really has three components. The first component is to help the student obtain a command, a sophisticated understanding of our most important domestic and international legal institutions and bodies of law. Now, by legal institution, all I mean is those institutions that make and apply the law, such as the provincial legislature or the federal legislature. Also, we have international institutions, such as the United Nations, and international treaties of various sorts. Those are sources. Those are both sources of law, and they're legal institutions that promulgate this law. Now, by bodies of law, what I mean are discrete areas of law that scholars have separated because they seem to hang together in a way where this particular area of law performs a particular kind of function. I don't want to describe this idea in too much detail, just let me give you a few examples. Criminal law, for example, tort law, or contract law, or property law, those are all bodies of law. One way we're going to carve bodies of law in the program and in the course, we also distinguish international law from other forms of law. And within international law, there are many different kinds of law. There's international economic law, there's international human rights law, and so on. So anyway, the thought is that there are these various bodies of law, there are these various legal institutions. The point, one of the main things that the JPPL program strives to do is to acquaint the student intimately with these bodies of law, these important bodies of law and legal institutions. The second prong of the JPPL is to help the student achieve an understanding of the nature of these legal institutions, an understanding that philosophy departments are well prepared to impart, and also to help the student obtain a mastery of the moral and political theories that will enable the student to evaluate the bodies of law and legal institutions that are the focus of our inquiry. Finally, the third prong, it follows from the first two. We want the student to develop his or her own informed critical view of the most important legal institutions and bodies of law that are such an important part of each person's life and our life that we share in common. As I said, the JPPL course, as opposed to the program, is designed to introduce the student to the broad themes and approaches of the program as a whole. Recall that the three main goals of the program are to acquaint the student. Well, the first main goal of the program is to acquaint the student with basic, with some of the most important international and domestic legal institutions and bodies of law. Now, if you look at your syllabus, you'll see that we begin to do that in this course. If you look closely, the syllabus is broken into 5 basic sections. In the first section, we discuss domestic legal institutions in the Canadian context. We're basically going to talk about Canadian legislative and judicial bodies and the structure of the Canadian legislative and judicial bodies and how they relate to one another. In the second component of the course, we discuss judicial review and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So here we begin to discuss a discrete body of law, constitutional law, in the Canadian context. As you'll see, we'll also be talking a bit about the structure of Canadian institutions when we do this as well. It's hard to separate those two things, the institution from the particular body of law, the Constitution, that these institutions, the courts, particularly the Supreme Court, work in. The third basic heading in our syllabus is a subdivision of constitutional law. We're going to drill down and focus on one aspect of constitutional law. We're going to focus on equality rights under the Charter. We're going to just see the way equality jurisprudence works in Canadian constitutional jurisprudence. The fourth section of the course deals with tort law. As you will learn, tort law is a discrete body of law that basically has to do with our interactions with one another, the kinds of duties we owe to one another, and the ways we must remedy any harms we do to one another when we violate these duties. The people who traffic in tort law, you probably have acquaintance with these guys. They're the guys in your phone books and on billboards. That the people who want to help you sue someone else when you've received some sort of injury, you've tripped and fallen, or you've gotten in a car wreck, something like that. Anyway, this is a very important part of domestic law. We're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of tort law. Also, we're going to talk about the criminal law, and the way it hangs together, and it's the nuts and bolts of criminal law. Finally, and this is actually, I actually misspoke. Actually, I have 6 separate headings, not 5. So let me count them to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Our 6th and final head is international law. We're going to discuss international law, and then within international law, we're going to discuss 2 discrete bodies of law within international law. We're going to discuss human rights law. We're going to discuss the law of the World Trade Organization. We're just going to, and so with respect to all of these areas, we're going to become familiar with just the basic facts about these 6 sets of institutions and bodies of law at kind of a descriptive level. We're just going to learn what they are and what their main ingredients are. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the program in Justice, Political Philosophy, and Law isn't only about achieving a command of what these institutions and bodies of law are. It's also about helping us develop the skills, the tools, the conceptual resources to evaluate these legal institutions and bodies of law. So what we're also going to do in the program and in this course is we're going to learn a little bit of political and moral philosophy. A little bit of political and moral philosophy. And we're going to learn a little bit about the basic moral concepts and concepts in political philosophy having to do with justice and equality and things of this nature. And learn about competing theories of these various concepts in political philosophy and moral philosophy, so that we can then do our little version of the third prong of the program, which is we're going to apply these various concepts to reach our own assessment of the value, worth, and justice of these various institutions that we're studying in this class. Okay, let me, so that's basically what the class is about, what we're going to do. We're going to do the Justice, Political Philosophy, and Law program in miniature. We're going to focus on 6 legal institutions and or bodies of law. We're going to learn various moral and political philosophy, various concepts in moral philosophy and political philosophy. They're going to then help us assess the value and worth of these areas of law and legal institutions. Let me say a little bit more about how we're going to do this at a logistical level. What kind of assignments are you going to do for me, and how are we going to evaluate your progress through this class? First, let me say a word about attendance. If you look in the syllabus, attendance is 5% of the grade. It's very straightforward how I'm going to do attendance. A roll is going to go around starting about 2 weeks into the course once enrollments have settled down, and then you just basically get automatically docked if you miss a certain number of classes. 1 or less absence, you'll get 100% for your attendance grade. 2 absences, you'll get 80% for your attendance grades. 3 absences, 60%, and so on, all the way until more than 5, and then I don't give you any credit because that's a lot of classes to miss. Of course, absences due to documented medical, family, or family contingency won't affect a student's grade, but I need the documentation. Okay, so that's the easiest one. Let me say a few words about the midterm. The midterm is going to have kind of an unusual structure. It's going to have 2 components. The first third of the midterm, which will be an hour, will be during our Thursday classes, or one of our Thursday classes. I think I have here on the syllabus, it's going to be on October 26th. That part of the exam will be written in class, and it's basically going to quiz your mastery of various descriptive facts about these bodies of law and legal institutions we've been studying. But then you're also going to have released to you at the end of this class session a take-home exam that you'll do over the weekend. And I expect that to take 3 or 4 hours, but you can just do it whenever you want during the weekend. And that part of the exam will be in essay format. And I have the breakdown of the grades for those 2 components on the syllabus. There will also be a final exam. It'll have the same structure as the midterm exam, but the final exam will be done, the entire exam will be done during the exam period at one sitting. You won't be able to take home the essay part. You'll actually write the essay part there in the exam room. Let's see, should I say anything more about that? Oh, I'm sure you guys are wondering. The midterm is cumulative until the midterm. The final exam is cumulative throughout the course, though I will focus on the material that we've had from the midterm on. But you could have material from earlier in the course, one way or another. Let me say a few words about the final paper. The final paper, I expect it to be about 3,000 words. You're going to give me a first draft, or actually you're going to give your peers a first draft. You're going to turn the draft in via Avenue to Learn, and then you're going to have 2 peers who are going to look at it and give you feedback, and then you're going to work on that first draft, turn it into a final draft, and that'll be due to me about a week later. The first draft is due November 16th. The peer evaluations are due November 22nd. Everyone has to write a peer evaluation. Actually, everyone has to write 2 peer evaluations, and the final draft is going to be due November 26th. You can see the details in the syllabus of how exactly that's going to work. I should mention all of these things: the papers, the paper, the final draft of the paper, the first draft of the paper for peer review, the written component of the take-home part of the written component of the first exam. Those are all going to be turned in via Avenue to Learn. I don't expect to ask for hard copies of any of these from you guys. That's subject to change. We'll just see how it goes, see how this works with the TA and stuff. But I expect that everything will be completely online. You'll most definitely turn everything in on Avenue to Learn. The question is whether we'll also require hard copies. At this point in the semester, I'm thinking that we won't. All right, I encourage you to read the rest of the syllabus that discusses various administrative matters and mentions how I'm going to deal with academic dishonesty and those sorts of issues, and where you can look to the McMaster website to find more information about what counts as academic dishonesty. And I think that's all I've got. So I look forward to seeing you in person during the next class period. And during the next class period, I will want you to have read a couple of chapters out of our Introduction to the Law in Canada volume. In fact, let me conclude then by just pointing out our textbooks. This is the Introduction to the Law in Canada volume. It's noted in the textbook, in the course reading assignments as ILC. You will be able to find, for example, for week 2, for September 10th, there's a chapter titled Systems of Law in Canada. I want you to read that. Another short chapter called Sources of Law in Canada. I want you to read that for next time. The other, one of the other textbooks is Philosophy of Law in Canada, and I think I have that, Canadian Cases in the Philosophy of Law, and that's indicated as CCPL in the syllabus. We'll have various readings out of that. There are cases that are going to help us learn about the actual law in Canada, actual bodies of law and the structure of legal institutions in Canada. And there are also the final source of material for the course readings is Avenue to Learn. I have a whole bunch of course readings on Avenue to Learn. Everything indicated in the syllabus with an AL next to it is a reading that you can find on Avenue to Learn. All right, well, I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.